Welcome to Applied Intercultural Communication, an Italian perspective. My name is Gino Perotti. I'm a visiting instructor at the Nicholson School of Communication, and I'll be leading our program. COM 3955 is a new elective open to students who have already taken intercultural communication, and it's currently offered at 3 credit hours for the Summer A 2012 session. We will meet at UCF over the first few weeks of the course, and then we'll travel to Italy for the final 2 weeks of the course. Class meeting dates on the UCF main campus will be between May 14th and June 8th, and our travel dates to Italy will be June 11th through the 24th. In this presentation, we will discuss the format of our class while at UCF, the class assignments and grades for the course, our travel itinerary for the program of study, and our communication concepts that are anchored by our Italian experience. Our objectives in class format while at UCF will be to identify Hofstede's 5 elements of culture and how Italy measures on each of them, identify and then explain the modern Italian worldview and larger Western civilization and how they are shaped by the history of Rome and Catholicism, to understand how the Italian worldview and cultural values are communicated through artifacts, to explain the visually persuasive messages communicated through Italian artwork, to compare and contrast the communicative messages of human sexuality through artwork and advertisements of ancient Pompeii, modern Italy, and the modern USA culture, to define gender and explain role performances in Italian culture, to identify common stereotypes that Italians have of USA citizens, and the other way around, to define marginalization and identify stigmatized groups in modern Italian society, to define co-cultures and identify them in modern Italian society, to explain the purpose of rituals and identify historically important ones in Italian culture, to define culture shock and the ways to manage it. In our last objective, to define our own personal identity in more clear terms by contrasting your current sense of self with a Florence reference group. Your class assignments and grades, there will be a total of 340 points that can be earned in this class. The 340 points will come from subject reports. There will be 2, each of them worth a maximum of 20 points, and these are just brief 1 to 2 page reflections on specific topics that we've studied. You'll also be doing a presentation on one of our class meeting topics. The presentations will be completed on main campus before we travel. And the second half is the journal. This will be done on the program of study while we're in Italy. Finally, our exams will be the remainder of the points. There will be a total of 2 examinations, and both of them will be taken before we travel to Italy. Our itinerary for the program of travel. We're going to start out first in Naples. And if you notice, Naples has a number 1 next to it, and on the right-hand side on the map, you'll be able to identify Naples and also see a 1. And that goes along with the following cities as well, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can locate the numbers on the map, and that will help you find the city. So we arrive in Naples. Then we head to Sorrento for June 11th through the 13th. Rome is June 13th through the 15th. Florence is June 15th through the 17th. Bologna is June 17th through the 23rd, and we end in Milan from June 23rd to June 24th. Please note, when you are traveling, you do need to be flexible. Our daily schedule may be subject to rearrangement to best fit the needs of our group. Certain things may come up, travel delays, unexpected things that you can't really plan for until you travel abroad. So let's take a look at each specific day and what we can expect. On the 11th, when we arrive in Naples, I will be at the airport in Naples to greet arriving students from about 9 a.m. to noon, and right now that's just an approximate time. We'll figure out the best window of time for me to meet students as everyone books their tickets and knows their arrival time into the city. After we're done greeting students at the airport, we will all board our bus for the about an hour transfer down to the beautiful seaside resort of Sorrento. And when we arrive in Sorrento, after checking in, we'll receive a 2-hour walking tour of the city After becoming oriented with it, you'll be able to spend the day enjoying the harbor, exploring the town, and then just getting adjusted to the new time zone. It can be very tiring. The next day, the 12th, really starts the bulk of our program. This will be your first full day in Italy, and today you might spend the day enjoying some of the beautiful nearby towns. Some places that you could visit would be Positano, and there's a picture for you. The town of Amalfi, the town of Ravello, which sits on a plateau, the island of Capri, and finally, the ancient ruins of Pompeii. All the places here that I have just introduced to you are within 60 minutes, either a train trip, hydrofoil, bus trip of Sorrento, so it's easily accessible. As you're experiencing some of these places, I want you to keep in mind the concept of ethnocentrism. This is something that we talked about, or will be talking about, during our course study while on main campus at UCF, and you'll be able to start identifying some of these own traits and characteristics in yourself. The next day on the 13th, we're going to depart Sorrento for Rome. So after enjoying breakfast at our hotel, we're going to board our bus and we're going to head towards the Archaeological Museum in Naples. And our destination there is to view the erotic art of Pompeii. While at UCF on main campus before traveling, we have already had taken a look at the use of phallic symbols. There was an article that we're going to be looking at that looks at phallic symbols used in Pompeii. And then we're going to contrast it to how we're currently using phallic symbols in our culture today. After visiting the museum in the morning, we're going to board our bus and we're going to head directly to Rome. It's going to be not too long of a trip, maybe a couple hours. And once we get to Rome, after settling into the hotel, we're going to look at a 2-hour walking tour that will also introduce us to the Colosseum. Rome, of course, has had a profound influence on our Western worldview. You're going to be able to see that impact in person. It's a pretty exciting city. On the 14th, we're going to primarily spend this day dedicated to Vatican City. In the morning, we're going to tour the museums of the Vatican, and that includes the Sistine Chapel with Michelangelo's famous painted ceilings. In the afternoon, we're going to tour the Basilica of St. Peter, the wealthiest church in the world, and the seat of Catholicism. In the evening, we're also going to tour the Vatican Gardens. As you experience the wealth of history at the Vatican Museum, I want you to remember and reflect upon these 3 concepts that we will have already explored while studying at UCF. The concept of rituals, visual persuasion, and worldview. The next day, on the 15th, we're going to depart Rome and head to Florence. So in the morning, we'll take our train. And when arriving in Florence, we're going to have a 2-hour walking tour of this Renaissance city, which pretty much gave birth to the modern urban way of living that we enjoy today. Americans usually love Florence. We will visit a shoe museum of Salvador Ferragamo, and the purpose of that is to really help you experience in person what we learned at UCF regarding artifacts in the 2 articles, Politics of Style and Hollywood Glamour, that we're going to take a look at. In the evening, we're going to enjoy the picturesque Boboli Gardens, which overlook the city of Florence. It'll be a really nice way to relax after a busy, busy day. On the 16th, we're still going to be in Florence and the surrounding countryside. In the morning, we're going to have a guided tour of the famous Uffizi Gallery. It's a museum which houses the best collection of Renaissance paintings. As we're getting this tour, I want you to keep in mind what we learned about visual communication and persuasion while viewing the art, and think about what messages were being sent to the world. In the afternoon, we're going to depart for the Chianti countryside for something really exciting. We're going to do a cooking class and a wine tasting. And this is to help anchor in what we learned regarding the slow food movement and the myth and stereotypes of Italian food in the United States. In the evening, we're going to return to Florence. After getting a good night's rest, the 17th, we're going to leave Florence and we're going to head to the neighboring area to the city of Bologna. First, before we do that, though, we're going to view Michelangelo's David in the Accademia Museum, which is in Florence. And what I really want you to think about is David is, of course, world famed. He's an icon for the Renaissance. I want you to consider, what does the man in marble represent? What does he communicate to us? In the afternoon, we'll head over to Bologna and settle in for a few days. Up until this point in the program, we will have been traveling at a very fast pace. So Bologna and the days that we'll spend here will really give you a chance to slow it down a bit and allow you a chance to really reflect on the culture that you're surrounded by. You will have a few journal assignments that will require you to do some critical thinking and applying concepts such as stereotypes, gender roles, co-cultures, subgroups, all different areas that we will have studied while at UCF prior to the travel. On the 18th, it's going to be a free day for you to complete journal assignments. On the 19th, the major activity that we have planned for you is a group dinner so we can discuss some of the things that we've experienced. On the 20th, we're going to do an early morning day trip to Venice. It's about 2 hours away from Bologna, and when we arrive in Venice, we'll receive a 2-hour walking tour. We'll also do a gondola ride, and that will be accompanied by music. Venice is steeped in history. It also has a lot of rituals associated with this city, so we'll have a chance to discuss and experience that since we will have studied about rituals. On the 21st, we'll have another group dinner together to debrief about what we've been experiencing. On the 22nd will be a complete free day for you as well, and I can offer some personal suggestions about some other places you might want to visit, or you might want to hang around Bologna. It is home to one of the oldest universities in the world. Might be a neat place for you to check out. So again, the main concepts while we're in Bologna that I want you to take a look at, I want you to look at stereotypes, gender roles, co-cultures, or subgroups. On the 23rd, we'll be heading towards Milan. This is our final destination on our program of study. On the 23rd, we are going to check out Milan, like I said, which while it may not be the most art-heavy city in Italy, it is certainly historic and is very, very important. For this reason, we're going to visit the Duomo, which sits in the center of Milan. It is one of the largest in Europe. We're also going to visit Leonardo da Vinci's famous Last Supper. And in the evening, we have our last group dinner because I want you to take a look at some of the major concepts that we will have studied over the course of this program. Perhaps the most important aspect of Milan for our group, though, is that it is basically Italy's equivalent to New York City. So you will really be able to see the contrast. Remember, we start in the far south in Naples, and we end now in the far north in Milan. So you will really be able to see the contrast between the north and the south. And you'll be able to identify those stereotypes that we're going to be talking about while still studying at UCF. We'll also talk about your own personal experiences with culture shock. What did you feel on this trip? And are you prepared to return home to your own culture? Finally, on the 24th, we've reached our last day. Classes officially end today. And be sure to turn in your journal entries to me, Mr. Parati, before leaving so that I can grade them for you. And from here, you may decide that you're going to return home, or maybe you'll continue your own travels throughout Europe. So again, the class is Applied Intercultural Communication in Italian Perspective. My contact information is listed here for you. Gino.Parati, that's Gino .P-E-R-R-O-T-T-E at ucf.edu. My office phone number is 407-823-1955. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions.